Hey guys, this is Coded Steel and welcome to your 15th tutorial in the C programming language. It has been a while since I've made a tutorial, guys. I've been very busy because I'm going to school kind of at the same time, so I've been very busy with this project that I've been working on. So finally got some downtime. I figured I would show you guys how to do some more stuff with functions. So last time we discussed the basics of functions. I want to get into a little bit more of the in-depth stuff that functions can do. So we're going to get to that. Guys, last time all we did was just called these functions in main and had them do stuff. And I told you guys that printf was a function. This has been a function we've been using for a while. It's a function that we have. The get character function is itself a function. And scanf is also a function. And guys, believe it or not, like I was telling you, like I've been going through a whole bunch of times, the if loop is a function. The switch is a function. They're functions, but they're also the control statements, whatever else. So basically now what we're going to cover this time is passing by reference. So basically what I mean by that is, let's say we wanted to subtract two numbers, but we wanted to pass those parameters from main into our functions up here. So how would we do something like that? Well, kind of what we do is we do this int x, int y. There's a reason, obviously there's been a reason these have been empty this whole time, right? So now we're going to actually pass these values into this function here. I'm going to do the same thing for both of our functions here. And I'm going to see, hopefully we can get through all of the rest of the good stuff with functions today. That's what I'm hoping for. So now we can actually pass values into these functions, and that's exactly what we're going to do. I'm going to get rid of this stuff here because, actually no, we'll keep that there. But now we're going to make it to where all of the addition is done by x and y now instead of our numbers here. Let's see here, x and y. So now we can pass in what we want x and y to be in for our specific function. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do, for an example, I'm going to do 12 and 24. We're going to pass in for the addition function, and the subtraction function we're going to do 79 and 85. Just follow along right now, guys. I'll explain the syntax in just a second and how the thing works, how it's going to work. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to build this code, and I'm going to say we're going to do subtraction. And it gives us -6. As you guys can see here, that is 79 minus 85. But we pass the numbers in now from main rather than going ahead and doing it from somewhere else, because we didn't want to go ahead and do it all up here in these functions. I wanted to pass it through main to it, pass it by reference is what this is called. So guys, that I can do it that way. I can also do it this way. I could do substitute in T, say, per se, and then a G, and then what I could do is in here, up in here in main, I could declare a T and a G, and I could set those, the T equal to 96 or the G equal to 100, and then I can execute after I close the window. I can execute and recompile and run this, and it's going to give me, if I do S now, it'll give me -4 because I set them equal up here. So as you guys can see, and also I could take it a step further and I could make it to where the user could input the number, but you guys should already know how to make a user input something by now. I'm just trying to show you guys the multiple different angles you can approach function handling. These are all different kinds of angles that you can do this. The last thing I really need to show you with functions, hopefully a lot of this has made sense to you guys so far, and if it hasn't, leave a comment below and I'll try to answer any questions that you guys have, or I'll make another video clarifying something if I move through something too quickly. But the last thing that we really need to cover is that a function can also, remember how I told you guys before, a function can return something. And up to this point, we've been dealing with pretty much voids. I have void here, void here. It's not returning any kind of parameter or number that we want it to return. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the subtract function because we've used that a lot. We're going to use the add function for this last example. And what I'm going to do is, since we're getting rid of the add function, we no longer need this if loop to decide on stuff. So I'm going to get rid of all of that stuff. And then this is going to go bye-bye. And then this is going to go bye-bye. I really don't need any of this stuff that I'm getting rid of, so that's why I'm just kind of ditching it. And then I'll get rid of all the rest of this stuff. Okay, so what we're going to do for this final example, guys, is we're going to use a function to return something. So what I've got up here now is my void. I want my thing to return an integer. Hang on a second, guys, I got a phone call. Alright guys, I'm sorry about that. I'm back, and where were we at? We were in the middle of getting rid of this block here because I don't need that anymore. And basically what I'm going to do now, guys, might seem a little odd, but it works, and you guys are going to have to trust me on this one, and I'll explain what is going on. We're going to take this function, actually, well, we're going to change it first, its type that we want it to return. Right now we have it a void, guys, which basically means I don't want it to return anything. It's a function that's just going to execute the block of codes, or the lines of code within it, and that is it. But if I want to make it to where it returns a value, I hit return R. So I'm going to have it return whatever's stored in R. And also, in order to do something like this, guys, let me show you. Just I'm going to get an error on purpose just to show you guys something. It says return statement with a value and function returning void. I have this returning a void, guys, and I have a return within a function, which is a no-no. You can't do that. You have to tell it. If I'm returning something, you need to tell it what type you're returning. Well, we're going to return an int because the integer R is an int, and I'm returning an int, so I'm saying I need this function to return an int. So that's basically what that line of code will do. That clears up our error that we got. And the next thing I'm going to do, now that this function is returning a value, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set it equal to t. Now, why can't I do that, guys? Why can't I set the function equal to a variable? Why does that make sense? Because of the fact that when these lines of code is executed and I say this return at the end of it, this function essentially becomes a number. It is no longer a function. Once this line of code executes, it's a function until it executes this final line of code and it says, oh, return R. Okay, I'm returning a number now, so technically this function becomes a number. So this is an assignment operation, and it becomes, I'm assigning t equal to the number that this function is returning. This function becomes a number. So then I can print the value of t on the screen, and it's a decimal number, our base 10 number, our number system, and it's going to be t that I'm returning. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put 6 and 7. So what would I expect to see on the screen? Well, I better see 13, otherwise my function isn't working correctly. So let's hope that it gives us 13. And there it is, guys. There's our 13 that we were expecting. So that is the gist of functions and all of the bulk of what a function can do. And as you guys might have guessed, just like a variable, just like I could set this int to a float, to a bool, to any other type of character, all that stuff that you can think of, I can do the same thing with a function. And I can set this function to a float to where it'll return us a floating point number, or a character to where it'll return a character. But in this example, we did an integer, and just the same as you do an int, you can do any of the other types. So now that you guys know how to do this, practice up on this stuff. This is very important to some of the more advanced coding that we're going to be doing later. Next time, I'm hoping to teach you guys a new control statement. We'll see what ends up happening. And don't think I forgot about the user functions I posted. I will actually be creating separate tutorials to teach you guys about those functions later. Anyways, that's all I've got. This is Coded Steel signing off, and I will talk to you guys next time.